Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Rocket Chiro podcast, the business and marketing podcast for chiropractors. So today we're going to have a little bit of an in-house conversation for chiropractors, and that is about the term nervous system chiropractor. And I'm going to sort of explain where that comes from and then just get into why I think it's a bad idea and why I think chiropractors shouldn't call themselves that. I have three main reasons as to why I would kind of ask chiropractors to stop using that term, because I don't think that it is a good thing. This came from a meme, cracked a joke. Sometimes I crack jokes and people don't like the jokes and then they get mad and they leave. Or it ends up turning into, I don't even say a discussion. It ends up just turning into a back and forth, because oftentimes people aren't willing to have this discussion and aren't willing to actually think about it, because chiropractic has two kind of extreme camps. The one extreme camp is chiropractic is just back and necks, and it's all, if there's not like some sort of double blind, triple blind, study that proves what we do, then we don't do it. The other side of it is the very kind of traditional innate chiropractic doesn't treat anything, and it just is there to help innate flow at its peak. And if you correct the misalignments or interference, then the body heals itself, and that's what chiropractic is. Those are two extremes that have existed within chiropractic for a very long time. There's been a lot of debates about them, and I have a feeling that if you are firmly entrenched on either side of the fence, you're probably not going to like what I have to say. People on the subluxation-based side of things tend to think that I am non-chiropractic. People on the evidence-based side of things tend to think that I'm a little bit too much of a vitalist chiropractor. So my guess is I'm going to upset everyone who's already entrenched, and everybody else is going to think about this and probably get something from it. And hopefully that's the case. Now, before I get into that, I do want to say what I say all the time is if you want help with your website and SEO and you are looking to have somebody else do your website, or maybe get out of doing your own website, go to Rocket Chiro, reach out to me, take my practice assessment, let me know you're interested in a website. I'll be happy to look at your stuff, give you some recommendations, go from there. If you're a new chiropractor, you've been out for a little while and you're feeling a little stuck with the business side of things, do check out my Next Step program. It is designed for you. It makes a ton of sense. It's something you could do for a couple months and be beneficial. Some people do it for a couple of years and it's beneficial. There's no contracts or obligations that go along with it. It's just something that's there as a really great resource to help you get a good foundation for your business and marketing. Check that out at rocketchiro.com. So I am not even sure if the video portion of this is going to work, because I'm watching my video screen here and it looks like it's glitching. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you're one of the 3 people that watch this on YouTube and you're not seeing video, that's why. I apologize, but I'm not going to go ahead and restart it at this point because I've already tried a couple times. So, I'm trying to figure out where to start, because this is a topic that I could spend a lot of time talking about, and I could spend more time talking about it than probably most of you care to listen. I will say this, that the whole idea of nervous system chiropractor comes from the very traditional view of chiropractic, and some of you who have gone to schools that are not traditional at all don't even understand where it comes from. So I'll just touch on it really quick. The idea is that BJ Palmer and DD Palmer's idea of chiropractic was rooted in a vitalistic point of view from the start. They were very obsessed with the idea of innate intelligence and inborn intelligence, which is the body's thing that heals itself. It's the thing that makes you alive. It's the thing that makes you different from rocks and, things that are not alive. That living things have innate intelligence. The human being, they believe that innate intelligence used the nervous system, and that was ultimately what controls your entire body or influences the entire body. When the spine misaligns and there's these subluxations, which is the term that they used, those subluxations interfered with your nervous system or interfered with innate, and ultimately that caused your body to get sick and unwell and pain and disease and dis-ease, like BJ liked to say. Those things were caused from a interference to innate intelligence. Because the history of chiropractic, the kind of roots of chiropractic are based on this innate intelligence and nervous system. And most chiropractors don't talk about innate intelligence nearly as much as they talk about the nervous system. Like it's sort of rare to hear people talk about innate outside of, very, very traditional chiropractors. but they've sort of moved from talking about innate, which is definitely the more fluffy definition. If you were talking to medical professionals or normal human beings or whatever, that would be the more fluffy way of saying it. The nervous system is probably a less fluffy way of saying it, because everybody understands they have nerves, they have a nervous system, like the basic people understand that. So most chiropractors who are more traditional talk about the nervous system and how chiropractic has an influence and affects the nervous system. And a chiropractor who is traditionally just trying to align the spine and allow the body to heal itself is almost always going to be talking about or relying on or thinking about the nervous system. And so if you take that to its extreme, then you say things like chiropractors are brain doctors or nervous system doctors, because adjusting the spine affects the nervous system and adjusting a spine affects the brain. So that's sort of the extreme. And you'll see nerve charts, and you'll see Dr. Steinberg and I were joking about chiropractic posters. We did a podcast just kind of for fun. And the little light up poster where it's like you push the little buttons on C1 and it shows you that like, oh, it lights up and it affects the brain and it affects this. And what ends up happening, and chiropractors aren't the only ones that do this, but what some people do is they take loose connections and they draw direct lines to them. And I'll give you an example that's not chiropractic, and then we'll just talk about what the chiropractic version of that is. One of the common things you'll hear within success and business and whatever is think positively, be successful. It's like manifesting your future. If you just think right, you think positive, you get your mind right, then you're going to be successful. And there's a loose connection. There is a connection, but there's a loose connection between how you think and being successful. And because how you think affects what you do. But if how you think doesn't impact your decisions and it doesn't impact your habits, and it doesn't, there's so much that goes into being successful. Some of it's luck. Some of it is environment. Some of it is timing. Some of it has nothing to do with how you think. There's some really pessimistic people that are very wealthy. There are some very optimistic people that are very poor. And so the idea that I'm going to get my mind right and therefore I'm going to be successful, you're taking something that is connected and you're drawing a very straight line as if it's that simple. It's just not. And I would say, as a general rule, anytime someone simplifies complicated things, they're making a mistake. And this is true for, you'll hear people say, and I did a podcast about this years ago, where if anyone says, all you have to do is, when you say all you have to do is, when you're talking about something complicated, like if you want to be a good spouse, all you have to do is. If you want to be a great dad, all you have to do is. If you want to be a successful chiropractor, all you have to do is. Well, those things are complicated. Like, you could be those things, absolutely. There's probably not anything that's keeping you from doing that, other than things you need to change, things you're doing wrong, kind of whatever. There's probably a lot of things that are difference between you not being successful and you being successful in any area of life. But when you take something complicated like how to be a great spouse and you boil it down to all you have to do is, you're taking something that's complicated, you're taking something that's convoluted, and you're trying to draw a straight line and make it simple, and that's not fair. So in the chiropractic world, we take something that is complicated, which is that chiropractic has never been just about necks and backs. This is the part that's going to upset the evidence-based chiropractors, because the mistake you make if you're way on the evidence-based side of things is you start looking and saying, well, there's no triple blind study that says that this is the case, therefore it's not true. That's a standard that medicine does not even hold themselves to. The medical profession that you love so much and that you want to be a part of, and you want to wear your white coats and you want to be a real doctor, the medical profession does not hold themselves to that standard. Now, they have a lot more money and time and energy and effort that goes into research. So they have a lot more evidence to the things that they know work, whether it's surgically, medically, or whatever. There's a lot of information that they can find to back up what they do. But if you think that every single thing a medical doctor does and everything that someone does within the medical profession is backed up with some sort of double-blind study by independent sources and whatever, that's nonsense. Medicine has never been that way. That's never been the standard. And if you think that chiropractic is going to evolve to a point where that's the standard, you're just being ridiculous. And people do this all the time. Like, people who have that more kind of scientific mentality of things, they look at stuff like, even like religion or God. And I've told you guys I'm a Christian. It's a huge part of my life. It's the most important part of my life, frankly. And it's something that I've had discussions with people that are skeptics, and they're like, I want evidence, I want proof, I want evidence, I want proof. And a lot of times my question to them would be like, what evidence would be sufficient enough to get you to change your mind? And a lot of times the answer is none. And that's the most common thought. If you really think about it, when someone's a skeptic and they're saying, I want more evidence, I want more evidence, I want more evidence, there is no evidence. There's no amount of data or proof or whatever that they're not going to disregard because it's just not good enough. And so if that is you, where you're constantly bugging people who are vitalistic chiropractors and saying, where's the evidence? Where's the study? Where's the this? Oh, and then when they show you something that is evidence, you'll say, not good enough, not double blind, not a triple blind, not an independent source. That was done by chiropractors and not by Monsanto, or whatever stupid reason that you have to disregard it. That's not good method. That's not good thought process. So chiropractic, and I'll say this is my defense of vitalistic chiropractic. Chiropractic has never been just about necks and backs. Chiropractic is not just about necks and backs. And if you think that by adjusting the spine and doing chiropractic care to someone, it only affects their musculoskeletal system, you are either being purposely ignorant or you just haven't practiced longer than 2 minutes, because that's just not the case. The health of the spine affects the overall health of the individual. Now, some people differently than others, some people more than others. And I'm not saying everything is rooted in a spinal problem. Like, oh, you have cancer, therefore you need to get adjusted before you do anything else. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying that there is a connection between what we do as chiropractors and the overall health and well-being that goes way beyond the musculoskeletal system. And if you think that that's not the case, you're just being foolish. You're just being ignorant. Now, you don't have to practice that way. I don't care. This is not about your practice style. If you just want to do backs and necks and you just want to do a kind of a therapeutic physical therapy, whatever you have a triple blind study for test, that's fine. Just don't think you're dunking on people who have a different perspective than you and come up with this, like there's not this standard that is not a realistic standard. Don't do that because you're being ridiculous. Now, back to you vitalistic chiropractors. I'm not anti-chiropractic. I get accused of being anti-chiropractic. I love chiropractic. I love the profession. I got super deep into philosophy when I kind of at the end of my chiropractic career. I was doing upper cervical chiropractic most of my chiropractic career, or pretty much all of my chiropractic career. I was doing upper cervical. You do not get into upper cervical chiropractic and then not do philosophy. It's part of the deal. My chiropractor is a vitalistic chiropractor, the one I've had for 20 years. I think he's awesome. I refer tons of people to him. I'm not anti-chiropractic. I'm not anti-vitalistic chiropractic. Here's the problem that I have with this. I have 3 problems with chiropractors going as far as calling themselves nervous system doctors. And these are probably not the only ones, but here's the ones that come to mind immediately as I've thought about this. Number 1 problem is it's inaccurate. It just is. We x-ray the spine, we evaluate the spine, we palpate the spine, we motion the spine, we adjust the spine, and then you call yourself a nervous system doctor. It's just inaccurate. You're not. You're just not. And you may affect the nervous system. I'm not arguing that point. I'm just saying that that's not what you are. That's not what you do. And if you were to go to a tire shop that works with tires, balances tires, mounts tires, and they said that they were an air shop because air is in the tires and that's what makes the tires work, we would just kind of look at them like, well, that's dumb. That's a dumb thing to say because it's inaccurate. You're a tire shop. And so I think that the number 1 problem with calling yourself a nervous system doctor or a brain doctor is it's inaccurate. It just is. It's not what you are. Number 2 is that redefining terms has never been helpful for chiropractic. Chiropractic has a history, a long, rich history of not using their own words, but taking words that are already established within the medical profession and trying to redefine them. Subluxation, disease, or disease. If I've read green books, I understand where BJ's coming from. But BJ was super annoying about this, is sitting there and saying it's not disease, it's dis-ease with a hyphen, and then writing 17 books explaining his point of view. Why don't you just do us a favor, BJ, and call it something else? Because this is not helpful. Because now you're going into the public, and we complain all the time about people don't understand chiropractic, people don't understand chiropractic. Well, the chiropractors don't understand chiropractic, which is part of the problem. And secondly, it's like you go into the public and you want to be accepted. I'm not talking about being a part of the medical profession, but being accepted and understood as in a general public, and being accepted and understood in the medical profession where people will refer to you because they understand the value that you offer and what you do. Going in there and saying, well, our subluxation is not your subluxation. Well, our dis-ease is not disease. Chiropractic has done this forever. And when you call yourself a nervous system doctor, and I said this to my wife, and this was my wife is a nurse practitioner. She's a mental health nurse practitioner. She was an ER nurse before that. She was a family nurse practitioner before that. So she's lived in the medical profession her entire adult life. And I said this to her. I was like, hey, I showed her the meme. I was like, hey, people are getting upset about this. And she's just looking at me like I got three heads. Like she has no idea why a chiropractor would call themselves a nervous system doctor. And she's like, well, they're not a neurologist. And I said, yeah, they're not claiming to be a neurologist, but that's what people hear. Like that's the problem, is that it's not helpful. It just isn't. Finding terms that people are familiar with or loosely familiar with and trying to redefine them. It's been going on forever. It's not helpful. Chiropractic profession is well over 100 years old, and we still have some of the same problems because these are the games that we try to play. It also reeks of insecurity, by the way, which is a whole nother discussion. So third thing is that, and this is, I sort of kind of hinted at it. Third problem with calling yourself a nervous system chiropractor or a nervous system doctor is because it looks bad. To the medical profession, you look stupid. Because you're not a neurologist. They know you're not a neurologist. They know you don't have the training of a neurologist. They know you don't have the nervous system. You don't deal with nervous system disorders like a neurologist does. You just look stupid. So to the medical profession, it looks stupid. Looks bad. To the general public, for some people, you're going to look stupid. People that know better, they're going to think that you look stupid. For the people that don't know better, you're going to look dishonest, misleading. It's like, oh, that's another chiropractor who's trying to think that they do something that they don't do. They think they can fix everything. They think they can cure everything. And I understand that that's not even a real thing for vitalistic chiropractors, that no vitalistic chiropractor thinks that they cure everything. They don't. But because we have redefined terms and because we have been unclear for over 100 years, the public thinks that. And rightfully so. We've earned that reputation. I know that there are people out there that are just trying to be genuinely anti-chiropractic. Like when people accuse me of being anti-chiropractic, I think it's funny because I love the profession. I defend the profession. I try to help the profession. Like I am not anti-chiropractic in the slightest bit. What anti-chiropractic is when somebody says, don't go to chiropractor because it's dangerous. Chiropractors aren't real doctors. Chiropractors are, quacks. Chiropractors just trying to take your money, like whatever. There's some genuinely anti-chiropractic things that are out there. And so I understand that those things are real. But if we were to take out the small percentage of people and professionals and whatever who are absolutely anti-chiropractic, they just hate chiropractors, and we were to take those people away, you still have this whole group of people who kind of have a little bit of a distrust for the profession. And that is rooted in the fact that we've probably earned that from being very, very unclear about what we do and how we do it. And so for the medical profession, it looks bad because it makes us look stupid. From the general public perspective, it looks deceptive. And the last thing is, I think it looks insecure. Chiropractors, this whole kind of trying to redefine things and trying to be like, we're not in the medical profession, but we're going to stick our face right up against the medical profession and try to take your terms. It's just insecure. Chiropractic gets great results. This is why I'm not anti-chiropractic. Chiropractic care, whether you are a vitalistic chiropractor or you are evidence-based chiropractor, no matter what you are, it's incredible. It gets amazing results. Even bad chiropractors get good results. It's such an easy, now I'm not saying it's easy to be really, really good at adjusting, but it's easy to get improvements as a chiropractor. It is. This is why people crack their own backs. And this is why people now I'm not saying that's chiropractic, but I'm saying working with the spine, mobilizing the spine is you can get benefits from it because it helps to have a spine that moves. It helps to all of that stuff helps. And if you do it right, it's incredible. How could you be in practice as a chiropractor and not just be blown away at how amazing chiropractic is? Chiropractic is awesome. Why are we trying to be something that we aren't, or at best may or may not be, or at best is a very direct line to a very indirect process? Does the spine affect the nervous system or brain? Yeah, probably. Is it a direct line? No, it's not. And if you think it is, you are simplifying a very complex process. Why are we doing that? Why can't we just be the people that work with the spine and work with the joints and are trying to improve some conditions? I think it's okay to use chiropractic as treatment. I think it's okay. It's a really good treatment. It's way better than what a lot of medicine has to offer. But on the flip side of it is, why isn't it okay to adjust the spine and work on the spine for improving a person's overall well-being and health? So they take less medicine and they sleep better, and maybe their overall well-being is better. And certain conditions and things that seem to be not related to musculoskeletal, those things get better because the body's functioning better and it heals better. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with being a spine doctor who is concerned about the function and well-being of the of the patients? Why do we have to make it about the being a nervous system doctor? And you could I'm not even saying you can't tell someone that that you're thinking the connection is between the spine and the nervous system. I don't care if you talk about innate, if you're just a fluffy hippie. I don't care. The problem is when you're leading that conversation with you're a nervous system doctor, you're not. It looks bad. It's inaccurate. It's not helpful. So I'll just finish by saying this. I think my advice to evidence-based chiropractors is just lighten up. Chiropractic is more than just backs and necks. And if you don't think that, you're just being silly. My advice to vitalistic chiropractors is just don't call yourself nervous system doctors and don't call yourself brain doctors. It's dumb. It's misleading. It's not accurate. Call yourself a wellness chiropractor. Call yourself a vitalistic chiropractor. Call yourself a subluxation-based chiropractor. I don't just call yourself something. Chiropractors are chiropractors. Stop trying to be something else. You are a chiropractor. There's nothing wrong with being a chiropractor. Chiropractors are awesome. There's nothing wrong with being a chiropractor. If you're a pediatric chiropractor, be a pediatric chiropractor. But you're a chiropractor. Trying to act like you're not is just adding confusion to a very confusing thing. And the other thing I'd say, and this is sort of what I've been saying all along, is just be clear. Be clear with your patients. People who have an evidence-based approach to care have a treatment approach to care that people understand. People that have a vitalistic and a wellness approach, a holistic approach to chiropractic, have a philosophical approach to care. And if you do not explain to people the difference, that you're making recommendations based on improving the overall function of the body and a holistic approach, and it's not based on your symptoms, and if you don't explain that to someone, and they don't understand that's what you're doing, they get upset about the fact that you didn't release them from care, or they're feeling better and you still think they should come back. And chiropractors need to get better. And this has been the problem from the beginning. They need to get better at explaining what they do. What do you do? What's your approach? What is your recommendations? Why are you doing what you're doing? And help people understand that. And I would say give people choices. I don't think that it's one or the other. I think it's perfectly fine to have a practice where you are initially taking care of problems, because 99.9% of people that come into you are coming to you with a problem. They're not coming to you because for wellness. And in explaining to people that there's more to it than that, and there are reasons why people do long-term chiropractic care. There are reasons why people manage problems long-term with a chiropractor. There are people that are interested in just their overall well-being. It has nothing to do with their symptoms. There are benefits to chiropractic that go beyond treatment. And I think it's okay to have a practice that does all of those things. I think probably the healthiest practices do have all of those things. But just be clear, like, you need to get better. Not only do chiropractors generally need to get better at adjusting, like, I think that the adjustment skills across the board could be better. In spite of the fact that chiropractors get good results, I think the standard's low, and I think that chiropractors could be better. But in spite of that, I also think that chiropractors could be much, much, much better. And they're probably the bigger deficiency is in their communication. People don't understand what chiropractors do. People don't understand that there's different ways of using chiropractors. People don't understand that there's different approaches to chiropractic. And because of this, it creates distrust. It creates confusion in the general public and the medical profession. And if we keep doing this, you keep playing these games and doing this 100 years from now, when you're hoping that your kids or your grandkids are practicing chiropractic, your great grandkids are chiropractors or whatever, they're still going to be dealing with the same nonsense that we deal with because we kept playing the same dumb games that have been going on since the beginning. So that's my thoughts. Don't call yourself a nervous system doctor. You're a chiropractor. Use some adjective to include chiropractor and be clear with people about what you do. That's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you for listening to the podcast. If you want help with your website, go to Rocket Chiro. If you want help with your business and marketing, need some tips, go check out my Next Step program. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for your referrals. Thank you for your reviews. Thank you for all of that stuff. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you guys on the next episode. See ya.